Joining me now is plant pathologist Dr. John Damicone. John, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our tomatoes and some of the problems we've been seeing with them this spring. Of course, they're very sensitive to fluctuations in water, and
Right.
all the heavy rains cause some trouble.
Right, yeah, this is a variety trial here at the Bixby Research Station, and you can see some signs of moisture-related problems. And as you said, tomatoes are very sensitive to, uh, environmental conditions, chemical damage, all kinds of different things, diseases. They're a fairly tough crop to grow here in Oklahoma because of our fluctuating environment.
Absolutely. And I've been here a few years, and it's been different every single year.
It's a challenge.
It sure is. What are some of the water-related problems that we've seen?
Well, this year we've had a lot of rain and cool weather early in the year. So the first few pickings, blossom end rot's been a problem, cat facing, that's from cool temperatures during pollination. And the blossom end rot, although these are managed to prevent blossom end rot, and these are not particularly sensitive varieties, they're, the first few pickings, there'll be a little bit of blossom end rot there. So those are problems associated often with moisture and environment.
And now the plants have also responded to the excess water and then the hot temperatures, is that right?
Right. It seems like every year in May and early June we get 2-3 inch rains here at Bixby, and then it gets hot afterwards, and we see a lot of these varieties that'll develop this physiological leaf curl. It's really not a problem, but it'll start on the lower leaves, and these things will curl up, and they'll pretty much stay that way for the rest of the season. Some varieties do it worse than others, and it's really fairly poorly understood the reason why they do that.
But does it have any impact on the production?
No,
fruit production?
But it does expose the fruit to sun, so you can get more sun scald. That is one drawback of that. And the more foliage you have to protect the fruit, you have a less sun scald.
Okay.
And that's a damage on the fruit. So
this symptom looks a lot like foliar disease that we encounter in tomatoes.
Right. Yeah. Back 4 or 5 years ago, we had a lot of this. This is Beet curly top virus, and those leaves are tightly rolled, and the plants are leathery.
Yeah, I could feel the difference.
This is spread by a leafhopper that apparently picks up this virus, overwinters in the deserts of New Mexico, and migrates up here every year. And some years it carries the virus, or some years the numbers are higher and there's more virus. Mostly it's just a plant or two here and there that we see in gardens or in small commercial plantings.
And some of the symptoms, we have the curling, but the plants are really stunted.
They are. Once they get leaf curly top virus, they stop growing, and you can see this plant here doesn't have any fruit of any kind there. There's no blossoms. It's pretty much done for. And this is one that probably got infected. It's nearby, got infected by the same leafhopper before it flew off. Maybe it was a little further advanced. There's a few aborted blossoms there, but and you can see these ones down here have some leaf curl in them, but they're growing normally and have a lot of fruit. So
that's more of the physiological problem.
Physiological leaf curl, and this is a virus.
And you have one more disease that you found here.
This is something we used to have a lot of when we had more tomato production here, where we had variety trials every year. This is Bacterial Spot. Starts out over here with some small brown spots. They get a little bigger, and then the lower leaves get scorched.
Okay.
There are fungal diseases that'll do this: septorial leaf spot, early blight. There's Bacterial Spot, which I believe this is, and Bacterial Speck. And these are worse when it rains, when you get rain.
Heavy rains. What are some cultural methods or other practices we could do to reduce the diseases in our tomato plantings?
Well, one good thing is to use this drip irrigation that you see here. These are, they turn this on every day, usually for an hour or two if it doesn't rain. Because tomatoes use a lot of water when they're producing fruit. So even though they're not wilted, it's good to keep the soil evenly moist. That prevents problems like blossom end rot. It also keeps the water off the vines. So it reduces the incidence of these foliar diseases. Now, it won't do much for these viruses, that depends on the leafhopper whether those viruses are going to get in there or not. But
Okay.
the other thing you talked about, I think we talked about previously, or Brian mentioned, was pruning the lower. They prune up to the first fruit cluster, and that reduces some of the lower branches that might be in contact with the soil. So when they trellis these things, this is another good cultural practice to keep the vines off the ground, is to either cage them or trellis them like this. And this is called a stake and weave production system, where so the fruit don't touch the ground, the leaves don't touch the ground. Now there'll be some soil splashing, but it helps to minimize disease and fruit rot also.
And when we talked about pruning, when we have a plant that's diseased, we could spread that through pruning. So we want to be careful to sterilize our tools.
Particularly if you're a smoker, you probably want to wash your hands and not smoke while you're doing this, because you can get tobacco mosaic virus from the tobacco. And then if you've got these bacterial diseases out there, you run the risk of spreading those, because they're easy to spread mechanically. You know, the bacteria kind of grow in the leaves and you end up moving them around. And periodically, it's a good idea to wash your pruning tools.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing this with us.
Thanks for coming out.